It's a unique opportunity for us today on TVN to get behind the scenes with one of the most powerful stables in Australia and find out how their spring hopefuls are building up towards the race they always target, the first Tuesday in November. We are here at Macedon Lodge. Nick, efficient. You've got the old boy ticking along. Gee, looks fit for starters.
Oh, he's terrific. He's in great order. He's probably he's probably as sound and as forward as he's been since he was 4. He's quite exciting. But the only difficulty we have with him is that, you know, and I'd say this touching wood, is that October's proved to be a bad month for him. So we're hoping we can get him through in October. He's had a lot of problems in previous Octobers, but this year anyway, we're hoping that he can get through it. But he certainly doesn't know he's 9.
No, and I thought he was really good. Like the last 100 metres of the MAKYBE, that was certainly good.
It was perfect, absolutely perfect. I mean, he's you know, we've seen him enough over those shorter distances to know that he's never going to, you know, rattle home and like some of these stayers still waiting those shorter weight for age contests. But I think once you get him out over 2,000 metres plus, you'll really see the best of him. And you know, I think on Turnbull Stakes weekend, whether he runs here or he runs in Sydney, you know, that's all up in the air at the moment. We'll think about it, but he'll run somewhere, and I think he'll run very well. So he's in great order.
That's an interesting decision. Do you go to the Turnbull, which is a race that he's won in the past. We know how much he loves Flemington, or the trip up to Sydney. The Metrop looks a winnable race, and he goes well there.
Oh, it does, and you know, we would never have normally considered taking him up there. It's just with him and knowing what he is, the trip away in the floaters is almost like another run. And I guess it's a bit less work that those old legs have to do. So that's the only reason we've even considered it. But anyway, we'll just wait and see where he's at and think about whether he runs in Melbourne or in Sydney.
Well, the grand final's the obvious one. He goes towards the Melbourne Cup. He's qualified. He's all good to go.
He's fully qualified, 55 kilos, ready to go. You know, and we'll give him the. You know, we'll let him tell us the preparation he needs to get there, and you know, you know, with a horse like him, we've had. He's trying to get to his 6th or 7th spring carnival, so we're just keeping him kit gloves, and he's such a clean-winded stayer. He's got plenty of residual fitness from the autumn, so we don't have to give him too many runs. But he's looking great at the moment. It's
a bizarre concept, but for a horse who's won a Derby and won a Melbourne Cup, I think we can say we haven't seen the best of him.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think if we'd ever been able to see the best of this horse, you know, you wouldn't be reading about the internationals the way you do today. There's absolutely no doubt on raw ability. I think he's every bit as good as any stayer in the world on his day.
Okay, we will look forward to seeing him. And in the pool with him at the moment is Tamby, won a Bendigo Cup, was runner-up in a Geelong Cup.
Looks like pretty good form, that Geelong Cup now too, doesn't it?
It certainly does, yeah. That was behind Dunedin, and he's getting ready for a tilt. What race is the number one focus for him?
Well, he's just down the order in the, unfortunately, still in the Caulfield Cup. We'd love to get him to the Caulfield Cup. You know, he ran 2nd in the Herbert Power last year as well, and you know, he'll run at some stage. You know, either Turnbull Stakes weekend or perhaps even the weekend after, and we'll see where we go from there. But you know, we'd love to try and get him into the Caulfield Cup if we could. You know, so we'll just have to see how that race pans out.
His last start at Moonee Valley, he's obviously wasn't well off at the weights. What did you make of that performance?
Well, yeah, I think people read probably too much into it because he won the race last year.
Yeah.
But you know, he won the race last year down on the minimum, and you know, he carried the top weight there, 58 kilos last time. He was 2nd up. We had him really ready to win it last year because we were trying to get his rating up. You know, he's really looking further down the track this time, so he probably wasn't as forward coming out of the Heatherley, but I think he's going very well, the horse. I think you could only be happy with him.
Moran makes his way in the pool. Firstly, to my untrained eye, he looks fit and healthy, and I thought he was terrific up in Sydney.
Yeah, he was great, wasn't he? He gave Few a nice feel. Would have been great if he won the race, but anyway, at least he ran well. You can see here he's not going to win any swimming races, but I guess we should have taken note of that before we tried to run him on some wet tracks a while ago, because he clearly doesn't handle them anyway. So as long as he stays on top of the ground, he'll run really well. He's in great order, Moran.
Yeah, he's had 2 terrific runs. I mean, his run first up in the MAKYBE was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was, and he obviously goes well in Sydney as well. And so as you say, 2 good runs. have another run and probably follow a similar pattern to last year to try and get to the Cup, albeit without the farrier issues we had on Cup morning. So
okay, so he'll run in the McKinnon. Does he go back up to Sydney and go to the Craven Plate?
Yeah, probably go something. He'll do something like that. Yeah, that's the aim at the moment. But the beauty of this property up here is that we don't have to run them.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're training elsewhere, that you really need to run them every 2 weeks and have to keep them fit. We've got so many facilities up here that if it absolutely doesn't suit us, we don't have to run them.
Okay, there's a school of thought that Moraine goes better the Sydney way of going. Of course, he's been runner-up in a BMW, runner-up in a Metrop, but he's also been runner-up in a McKinnon.
Well, yeah, I think his career high rating race would be, I'm not sure of this, but I'd say it'd be the McKinnon last year for sure. Where he just got beaten by Glass Harmonium and was finishing over the top of it.
Yeah.
That's certainly in our mind the best run of his career. So I don't think there's any trouble about him going at Flemington. He also won the Bart Cummings race there last year. So I think Flemington's pretty good for him, and I think there's a good race for him at Flemington there in November.
Obviously his grand final is the Melbourne Cup.
Well, that's what we're hoping. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's he's really 6, but they call him a 7-year-old here this year. So he's like efficient. He's not going to need a lot of racing to get to the race. We know he stays. He's very genuine stayer. So he'll get there, and we'll just make sure we get him there in good order.
The next of the horses that has been following him is Excluded. Is a young, promising stayer who's just going nicely through the grades.
He is. I've been describing him very much like Tanby a year on.
Yeah.
He's a horse that needs to go through his grades and get his rating to a level where he can get into some of these better races.
Okay, so ideally you've got him nommed, you want him to go towards all the big cups. It might be too soon for him.
It could well be too soon, and that's we've been talking about him internally, I suppose, as a Bendigo Cup horse.
Yeah, okay.
But when you see O'Sullivan's mare run last week, it makes you wonder about how good his form may be. So anyway, he needs to show us that on the track, and he'll tell us where he goes. There's no point worrying about it.
Midas Touch went back up to Sydney with Moraine. This is yet another one that was placed in a 3-year-old classic over in the UK. It's taken a little while. He certainly looks like he's going to his racing.
Well, he ran third in the Underwood last year.
That's right.
So he was, he got very ill last spring. He caught a bad virus, but he was going particularly well. He started a bit later than the others, and I think it's fair to say he probably got away from us a little bit. Yep. He's a bit behind on the fitness scale. And James McDonald was very happy with him on Saturday, but said he just ran out of puff, and I think at the 300 there, he was really looming into the race well, but he just ran out of puff. So anyway, a horse like Midas Touch, we've given those runs to try and get some fitness into him. But there's a saying that all the old trainers use: he's fat inside, and he's certainly been very fat inside. He had a light autumn, and a light spring last year, and he really needs the racing to get his condition back. He's a bit ring rusty at the moment, but he's fully qualified for the Cups. He's got to hold them together. It's still so far away.
Yeah, that's right. But he's more likely to probably go to a race like the Metrop as opposed to staying in Melbourne.
Yeah, it's either you would think probably the Metrop or the Bart Cummings or something. You try and get him out to 1.5 miles, and that's what he is, and see how he's going.
Here's Seville making his way into the water. Yet another one of the Europeans that you picked up, placed in an elite derby over in Europe. And I loved his run in the Naturalism. Yeah,
it was terrific. He needed it. He certainly pulled up big from it. He'll head towards the Turnbull or the Caulfield Stakes. We'll just see how he is over the next week or so, and then into the Caulfield Cup. He's a horse we've got a huge amount of time for.
Yeah.
But that's the plan with him, and then hopefully onwards to the Melbourne Cup. But he was a high quality horse in Ireland and England and Europe, as you say. He's run in the. I keep watching his run in the Grand Prix de Paris, and it excites you every time you see it. So we're really looking forward to him getting out to his trip of 1.5 miles plus, and he'll be really good.
He's only had just a touch over a dozen starts, so he's really lightly raced. Only won one race, but he's up in the weights. He's qualified for the Cups, and that's obviously the target.
It is, and he's heading in absolutely the right direction. Whether it all comes too soon for him this year, which it can for these imports when they've only been here their first year, I'm not sure. But at the moment, fingers crossed, he's doing everything right, and we expect him to have a good spring.
Nick, we're here with Faulkner, who was ultra impressive fresh run at Flemington. It was fantastic.
Yeah, he was. He ran some very slick sectionals, and it was a very windy day, and I think the times don't lie, I guess, and he was probably at the peak of the wind when he ran. So everything still stacks up with that run, and there's another similar race for him in the next meeting at Flemington. Fingers crossed we'll get him there, and he should give a good account of himself.
Take it by surprise, that run?
It certainly took me by surprise, because it probably shouldn't have when I look back on it. We've always had an enormous opinion of this horse, but his last couple of two first up runs had been a little disappointing. But when I really think back on what had happened with them, the circumstances surrounding them, it was probably understandable. But he's showing the potential on the track now that we see at home all the time.
Okay, what's the plan for him for the spring? You've given up at the moment of trying to make him a stayer? We're just going to concentrate a mile?
We'll let him tell us where he takes us. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him be able to get a mile and a quarter.
Yeah.
But, he seems, based on that run the other day, he seems pretty happy at 1,400 to a mile. So there's some pretty good races and plenty of money around in the spring for that. So, we'll just see where he takes us, as I say, and to what level he can get to.
1,400 metres at Flemington's obvious. Then he goes to a race like the CURRAGH?
Well, look, he'd have to be ultra impressive, obviously.
Right.
But there's a good mile race at the end of the carnival too at Flemington, and we this with a horse like this, we do like to keep his runs sort of 3 weeks apart, something like that if we can, or we have. But he'll tell us, but those sort of races, they're in the back of our mind, and it's like all these horses, you've got to keep dreaming, don't you? So many of them, you plan on them running in a Group 1 race, and they end up running in a maiden in the country somewhere. So you've got to, I guess, if you can get them to the good races, you've got to run them. Green
Moon is a fascinating member of your team. In many ways, the star of your team. He's the top of the markets for 2 cups and a plate.
He is indeed, and she's not a bad name for a TV show, that. And look, he's an exciting horse. He's come a long way since he's been with us, and he's got a long way to go if he's to match any of the expectation bookmakers have got on him. But we're really happy with him. Turnbull Stakes will really tell us where we're at with him, and counting down the days till he runs.
Okay, he was a winner of the Newcastle Cup. He was runner-up in a Caulfield Cup. Then he went amiss at Flemington. He was fantastic. He's qualified for all the cups. The weight that you got in the Melbourne Cup, that's good enough to get in?
Yeah, I was 53.5. That should get him in everywhere, I think. And that's he won the Blamey in the autumn, which got his rating up to 108, which got him that rating. His 2 runs back so far have been great. Really pleased Craig Williams, and we're just looking forward to Turnbull Stakes Day and hope he can put his best foot forward. Okay,
right now though, before we go to the Turnbull and after his great run in the Dato, is he going on a Cox Plate Melbourne Cup route, or is he going Caulfield Cup Melbourne Cup?
Well, I think the Turnbull Stakes will tell us that, but as I think we've said, we think he's going on a Cox Plate mission.
Yep.
Cox Plate Melbourne Cup, and that's it's certainly the preferred route. But you'd have to say, with 53.5 in the form he's in, the Caulfield Cup is an absolutely ideal race for him. So if he shows us at all in the Turnbull that he's a bit dour and looks like he's ready for the 1.5 miles as opposed to the 1.25 miles of the Cox Plate, then we'll change plan. But certainly our first priority and our plan at the moment is absolutely to be going to the Cox Plate.
Just looking at the Dato run, he rolled up as though he was going to win by a couple of lengths there. Is that just a fitness issue?
I think he just ran out of petrol in the last 100 metres, and but if you look at the sectional times and the time of the race, he ran a great race, really. I think there's no doubt that Happy Trails is going as well as any miler in the land at the present time, so I think it's probably a pretty good run. Okay, and since then, is he really trained on well? He's come on well, yeah.
And weight's point of view, I don't know you weigh your horses, does he seem to have lost a bit of weight?
Yeah, he's heading towards where he needs to be, and he'll be there, assuming all's well. He'll be at the right weight on the day.
You've been in this game long enough to have those cards close to your chest, haven't you?
Well, you've just got it's like all these things. You've got to hope. It's as we all know, there's so much that can go wrong, and at the moment we're touching wood and got fingers crossed and making sure that we can take out all the little things that can cause us bad luck, and hope that none of the ones that we can't control do cause us bad luck. So anyway, we're just hoping.